Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just want to give you a little update on what's going on with the 51 Ford pickup. I'm Daryl, this is Sweet Hot Rods and Honey, and we've been building this 51 Ford, and last week we got it painted, and now we're putting it back together. Eventually I'm going to be doing a lot of wet sanding, but I'm eager to get everything mechanical going. So we got the engine in place and master cylinder, booster. I ran brake lines to the front and back, and they're looking okay. I wanted to get a lot of this stuff done before I put in the inner walls of the hood. So this side we've got headers in, and I ran the exhaust back. So it's temporarily hooked up. I'm gonna make hangers. And the other side, I've got to still get one bolt that broke off inside the head. I think it's that one. Yep. So I'm gonna get the welder out and weld and twist out that bolt. We roughed in the steering column. I can bring the steering column up from the basement, but I've got to move this hole for the steering column closer to the wheel because it's very close to the header on that side. I still have to hook up the power steering lines. They're all made up. It's kind of janky, but I'm going to try that for now. It's not the prettiest plumbing job, but it'll work. We have our lines in for transmission cooler, and also we put on the intake manifold. And today I just finished running plumbing for, well, I didn't finish, but I ran plumbing for the fuel line and the return. So this is our fuel line. It's not ideal. The best setup is having a pump inside the tank, but I'm going to try this for now. Also, I should have the fuel pump down lower than the tank, but I just don't have the real estate there. So I ran a line up. That is a filter, and I'm using Evo Engine Energy parts for this line, for the fuel line. These fittings are Evo Energy. There's a sticker, but I'm using these fittings. I've used them before and they work out pretty well. This one is not a PTFE type. It doesn't have that inner sleeve, but everything on the fuel line does. So I ran fuel line. So we've got filter. There's the pump. I still have to wire in the pump, and it could be a little tight in there, but I might have to turn the pump out so I can get to both of those nuts. And then there's a regulator with a return back to the tank. So this is the return back, this guy, and it'll dump into the tank then. So I ran line all the way up to the manifold, and that's this line. Where is it? Oh, that's this line right here. I still have to crimp this onto this fitting, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Get this off of here. So I needed a 180-degree turn because I could not get this, a straight fitting back in the back, because this crossover from one rail to the other would not fit up in the front of the engine. So had to put that in the back and this in the front. So let me show you how I'm going to crimp these on. So this is a PTFE fitting, and the difference is this sleeve gets inserted over this white plastic part, and I gotta push that down. Let me get a little wrench to knock that down. Set those aside. Okay, let me see. So it gets I think that'll be okay. Oh, darn it. What I forgot to do is get the sleeve put on here first. Oops. All right, that sleeve goes on. Now this compression type fitting goes in. So that's pushed in as far as it can go. And then this gets inserted. Like so. And then this slips over. And what will happen is this fitting will crimp down onto that little aluminum sleeve. Now the best, easiest way to do this is putting the fitting in a vise so you can hold it. And I need another wrench to hold on to that. All right, let's see. Like I said, I've used these fittings before with no problems. And I hope that's the case with this fuel line. What I don't know is how well the fuel pump is going to work out. Okay, so that's tightened down as far as she goes, and that's going to get routed onto the fuel rail. And I have a pressure gauge here just to make sure and have about 50 to 55 pounds of pressure. Okay, so I gotta tighten this up, and what I'm gonna do is put these strain reliefs here just to pretty this up. I'm gonna put those on here, one there and one in the back, and that should help stabilize this fuel line. So we got our fuel rail hookup done. Strain reliefs on the fuel line. I've got a couple tie wraps in the back. I'm gonna have to put another, maybe a couple support brackets back here against the bottom of the floor, just to make sure that it's not rattling around there. So that's sort of but not really done. We got the windshield wiper motor assembly rebuilt, put a new motor in. I had to reconfigure it a little bit. It's tough to see, but I put in new, I don't know what they're called, levers that go back and forth that make the windshield wipers swing. So those are done, but because that motor is a lot bigger than the vacuum motor that was in as stock, it makes it tough to put in this louver, this air catcher on the cowling. So I thought, well, I'm just gonna have to do away with that louver system, and that will have to stay closed permanently. And here it is. But this gets attached to this hinge system, which really is the louver system. And the thing that was in the way is this bar, which is a hinge for the louver. And so I think because there's enough support over here and on this side for this hinge, I'm going to attempt to take this chunk out from here over, because that's really what's bumping up against the windshield wiper motor. So I'm going to try to cut that and slip this in and see if that's going to work. I think it will. I'm hoping it will. And if it doesn't, well then this door is going to have to stay closed permanently. But for now, I'm going to give it a try. So I'll be working on that. And what else do we have? Oh, I just roughed in the air conditioning and the heater hose lines. I've got to crimp up. Well, it's still early, but after I get this inner fender on, then I can make up these hoses. I had to, because when I bought this engine, the guy just cut off these air conditioning lines. I think what I have to do is pull out that compressor and measure if there's any oil in it. So, because it's kind of critical the amount of oil that goes into the compressor. But also I had to find these fittings, which, well, these are the old ones. These had hard lines crimped to them. These are going to get thrown away, but I needed to get an adapter, which is basically a similar thing, but then it has the threaded lines for these connectors, kind of like this guy. So it's going to have a configuration kind of like that, and then the larger one on there. So that they're on order. They should be coming in a couple days. I'm going to make those up. And what else? Starting to think about how I'm going to reuse the original wire harness. I'm going to have to modify it. And so I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put the ECU. Since this is an LS engine, I'll probably have to put that under the dash somewhere. There's not going to be a whole lot of room because the air conditioner, the evaporator box, and that's going to go right here. I showed you that in previous videos. Also, the hoses are going to be coming out, and so I'm going to have an outlet here in each side, driver and passenger, and then one in the center coming out here. It's kind of tough to see. I got the glove compartment in and the ashtray in with its trim, and so this is a black cherry, and then this is the black, same black that's on the fenders. So that worked out okay on the glove compartment. All right, that works. And the ashtray works, but the trim piece that I put on here, the original stock had the radio in the center. I deleted that. I made this panel, and we're going to have the control panel here for air conditioning. But I was putting on this trim piece, and sorry about the lighting, but I broke off this one connector back here. It should be welded onto a stud, which then crimps back, or not crimps, but it gets held back with a nut. So I've got to fix that. And this doesn't really lay on there perfectly, but it's going to be good enough. I think that's going to look pretty good with the black trim. We've got to get our gauges set in there. We have the brake pedal and I bled the brakes. I just set it up in there quickly to get things going with the brakes. But I do have to readjust that pedal. This pedal is way out too far. So it's got to go back probably another 10 inches, 8 inches, maybe about there. So that's got to be readjusted. And yeah, so we ran our brakes back here. We still have to deal with some leaking connections. I had a leak here, and I think on the other side as well. But then up at the master cylinder, I had some other leaks. So, you know, we're starting to just get things put back together and working out some kinks. I think the engine clearances are going to be fine. Header clearances are fine, but it's going to be tight on that driver's side. And I had originally done a dry fit before I even painted. But what I didn't have was this intake manifold, and I think this intake manifold is pretty cool. It's certainly a lot nicer than the stock plastic one with the cover. But now that I don't have the cover, I've got exposed valve covers with coils, and what I'd like to get is an aftermarket cover. Well, it may be a combination of valve cover and cover, which are aluminum or stainless. I think they're probably aluminum. Or I might just have one made up, at least to cover these coils. Maybe, you know, I just don't know. So that's in the works. Gonna finish plumbing the air intake, but that's gonna get done after I get the radiator core support in and the inner fenders, and then I'll see how close we are to that core support. I think we will clear it. That's one thing I did not dry fit, but I think there's going to be enough room. So yeah, it's coming together. Some of it's painful, some of it's a lot of fun. I like this part of the build. I'll probably get these windows put in sometime soon, at least the windshield and the back window. They're pretty easy to do. Maybe I'll hold off on that windshield just because it makes it easier to reach in from different angles to, you know, work on dashboard or even the engine. But maybe I'll run down and get that back window and put that in. Well, I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I'm going to put this back window in. And if you've seen my other video when I did this on the 55 Chevy, the windshield and the back window, I used the rope method. So I've got the window here, and it's under the seal. So what I'm doing is spraying in a little bit of soapy water into the groove to give it some lubrication. When we go to slide it in, we're going to put this thin rope that I'm soaking in a bucket just to saturate it a little bit. That's going to go in this groove, and then we're going to show you how the rope method works if you haven't seen it before. So I've got this thin nylon rope. It's not the best. Cotton seems to work pretty well. And I have some cotton rope, but it's just too thick. So what I have is this, and this would work, but it's just too big, too thick. So we're gonna go ahead and insert this into the groove on the gasket, and we'll start at the bottom. I'll get a couple knots in here. Let me try the other side. I'm going to put this in here, and we'll start to pull the rope on the bottom side. I don't know if you can see this, but rope's going into that groove, and that groove is going to wrap itself around the very lip on the truck. I'll show you a little bit closer in a second. Goes in pretty easy once you get this, the molding and gasket material wet and a little slippery with some soap. Use Dawn soap. I think that's what was in that bottle. Kind of smelled like there was some, maybe a little bit of alcohol in there as well. So it could be, might be Windex that's in that bottle. Anyway, it's a good lubricant. It'll work. So we're going around the whole thing. All right, so we got this a bit of overlap. I'm going to attempt to do this by myself. I've done it before by myself, but I may need to call my wife just to, or have her to help hold this. So I'm going to spray a little bit around the perimeter of the opening. Let me get you closer here. Okay, so hopefully this will work. So the rope goes on the inside. I don't want to drop this thing. Try to get it centered as best we can. Alright. Now, I think I might need her help. Alright. Let me punt and get my helper. Because I made it right. All right, you're gonna have to come over here.
On the other side?
Nope, right through here. Just watch your legs because there's some sharp edges. Just stand in here, right in the middle. You're gonna have to, okay, like this. Put your hand under there, just like that, okay, so it doesn't get away from you, and you don't want to take this off. Keep that on there. Okay. Now, slip that down. Now, just keep your hand there because it could slip and fall. Okay. All right?
Yep.
Try to get this started. All right, now I'm going to go in and pull the cord slowly, and you're going to continue to put pressure on there. And this is the outside. And we've got this pretty significant gap here. Oh, I don't think I kept the stock. Well, I kept the window. I don't know that I have this molding. Almost seems like that should be in another, oh, I don't know, ½ inch at least. Or this molding is meant for, I have trim around here. So that's that. But the inside, the lip, Using that rope, I could get this lip over top of that, the metal strip. So I think it's on there as it should be. And it looks like it fits just fine from the inside, but I don't know if I like the way this looks on the outside. It's centered, but wow. I'm gonna have to do some research, find out if there's a molding strip that's intended to go in there. I don't know. But using the rope method is really pretty easy. It works, but I just don't know if this is the way it should end up looking. Like the window cannot go in any further. Oh well. So I think that's going to look pretty good. This is tinted glass, and it could have even been a little bit darker tint, but this is what was available. And I got this glass from Auto City Classics. They don't have their name on here, but yeah, I generally get all my glass from that place, and they're in the Midwest. So, yep. Well, I'll call that done until I can find a piece of molding. I was thinking to myself, and I said, self, this is not right on this back window. I think, and I'm not sure, but I think this window should have gone in from the inside out. We put it on the outside in, and it caught this thin lip on the inside. Well, this outer lip, this looks like it's the real lip. I think I might have to take this window out and do the same thing here with the little bolt rope action, and put the window on the inside and start working this lip over the the frame of the truck. I think that makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you guys? Okay, it's time for the fix it stupid video. Mess ups, screw up window, put in wrong. I'm gonna put the bolt rope around this lip since it's right there in front of me. And we're gonna remove the window, and then we're gonna reinstall. It's gonna be from the inside out. Sometimes it takes a half a dozen times to get it right. In my case, it's always more. Anyway, no problem. Let me get this thing partly wrapped around here and slide it in there. I guess before I put this in and made the video, I should have just double checked. And sure enough, I was wrong the first time. Not a problem. I'm not paying anybody to do this, so if I screw up, I'm screwing up on my own time. Okay. All right. Now this rubber lip is a little bit looser than that small inner lip that we used the first time. So what I might do, I think I've got suction cups. I'm gonna put on here. Whew. My wife and I put in this back window. We had a tough time getting out, removing it with the thinner inner lip. But we got it, and then we started to, we put the bolt rope in around the edge, lubed it up with water and soap, and that was good up to a certain point, the bottom and up to this side. Otherwise, we had to manually push everything in by hand and work it. But finally, we got it. So I think that's looks pretty decent. And it's hard to see, but everything is uniform. So you can see how much better that edge is. And that's correct. So we made the mistake of putting it in from the outside in, and that was wrong because there's two lips. We used the bigger outer lip, and it was not easy. It probably took us 45 minutes to get everything lined up and work it in. So there you have it. So next on the agenda is we're going to modify this cowl vent. I'm going to cut this center section of the rod out, and we'll see if there's any interference underneath the cowl and underneath the dashboard. All right. We got our death wheel, and base man's going. I would normally just use these glasses, but in the past I've had metal kick up and went underneath the glasses and hit me in the eyeball. I don't like that. So I'm gonna always wear this full face mask when I do some cutting. So there should be enough clearance there, I hope. And the mechanism still works just fine. There we go. All right. Now the next struggle is to try to get this into the truck. All right, let's see. This is always difficult. So, I don't remember the angle that I had to put this bracket in. The back edge of this vent. All right, let me bring in here. I'll have to get a light so we can see underneath that dash and show you what I mean. But I think kind of looks promising. Okay, so we're underneath the dashboard. Here's the motor for the windshield wipers. And here is the bottom of the cowl vent hinge. And that's where we're hitting onto the motor there all the way across. So I'm going to put a mark on there with a Sharpie and trim out some of that. Also, I can see way over here at the side hinge. This is the linkage for the windshield wiper. So that's hitting there. I'm gonna have to bend that up so it clears. It's just hitting it enough right now that it's gonna be a problem. Yeah, so we're gonna have to operate these windshield wipers to see how much clearance we have and how much clearance we have for this vent. So I'm gonna mark this and trim out some of the vent, and we'll see how it goes. I got this cowling thing marked, and I think we're gonna have a couple problems. I think we can get clearance with that little flapper door if I cut some out, but what's gonna be a problem is I don't know if you can see it. Here's the wiper arm inside, and it's gonna swing, so it's in the left position now. It's gonna swing over here, and I think it's going to hit this other bracket. So I'm gonna drop that for now. Well, I'm gonna cut this video short because I don't think I'm gonna be able to resolve the issue with the cowling right now. I'm gonna have to bend some of that linkage around and make that not interfere, but that's gonna be maybe another day. But I'm glad that we got the window in, and that was a learning experience. So anyway, I just want to thank you all for hanging in there with me and your support. If you enjoyed and liked the video, please hit the subscribe button and like button. I'd appreciate that a lot. So we're going to continue on with the truck. We're going to keep putting pieces back together, and eventually we're going to get this engine to start up. We haven't had it running yet. So thanks a lot for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.